Going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM coming with my buddy J4. I bring you episode number 29 of our Dota on Demand podcast. What's going on, friend?
It is a beautiful Saturday morning here in Tallahassee. Actually, that's not at all where I am, but that just sounded kind of accurate. I don't know. One of those feelings. I should be watching cartoons because that's what I feel like you should do on a Saturday morning, but I haven't done that in like 10 years, so unfortunately not the case. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yeah, I'm actually looking at my own camera and just all the light pouring in, because normally we do these in the evening, but my class was messing up our schedule, which is now over forever. But yeah, I'm just like half radiant over here.
I wish I had the sound clip for School's Out.
School's out.
The summer. Okay, yeah, that's why we don't sing. Not yet. We're getting there. Look for our album next July. So,
there you go.
Yeah. So, anyways, go ahead. You want to explain kind of what this little format's going to be?
Yeah, it's cray. We are continuing to try and collect feedback and stuff from you people. So we're going to try doing really, really short casts in reference to our other ones. So even though there were 3 heroes that came out most recently in that patch, the PA, the Chaos Knight, and the Gyrocopter, we are going to do 3 separate podcasts that will hopefully be between 20 and 30 minutes. So that way you guys can just be like, oh snap, there's 3 episodes this week. I'm just going to download all 3, and I can just listen to each one at a time. And you don't have to like fast forward and rewind on your tape deck players, where I'm sure you're listening to all these things.
Your 8-track, just
so yeah, yes, your 8-track player.
Yeah.
So this first one's going to be on the Chaos Knight, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, no doubt there. I mean, he's obviously been around for a very long time in the scene. His moves have not always been consistent back in the years. They've kind of tweaked them, worked them, and now he's not as insanely random. Actually, it's funny. He is built on that random thunder, but the first time he came out in Dota, true story, his damage range was 1 to something. His attack damage range. So that was like the definition of RNG on this hero. It's like, well, I could hit for 1 or 100 on this auto attack. Which one am I going to do? I think they started to realize that's not as enjoyable to hit for 3 damage as you'd want it to be.
Yeah. I'm glad they made those changes. That's for sure. I really like just how good he is at being able to gank as well as push. Like you said, it's a little random, but you can get up to a 4-second stun at the last rank of the Chaos Bolt, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's a very reliable. Well, okay, it's not reliable until that 4th rank, really. But when you does eventually get to that rank, that's when you can at least get 2 seconds. Hopefully, let's go for 4. Kind of like Ogre Magi's multicast levels up in a similar fashion. It's like, well, at least I'll get this amount, but I'm praying that I get this amount. So, but either way, it still does a good amount of damage. The stun is so reliable. It is a kind of a short range though, at 500. So not the longest initiation, but then again, that's why he has that second move, Reality Rift, which teleports you, and if you have images, we'll get into that later, and the target opponent using it on, you kind of meet up in the middle. I don't know what I want to call that, like in the movies when like the 2 couples are just running towards each other, on that grand finale kiss. It's kind of like that, except you're probably not kissing, you're probably getting attacked. But yeah, it teleports you and the enemy in some kind of distance between yourselves, and you get bonus damage for your next auto attack.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really just an awesome spell. Like, it's great if someone is stupid enough to dive you in your Chaos Knight, because then you can just stun them, and then when they try and run away, you just Reality Rift them back closer to the tower. So it's actually a really nice tool to have, just as like a non-ultimate, to be able to move somebody, because otherwise you have, obviously the items like Blink Dagger, Force Staff, you have Vengeful Spirit ulti, but there really aren't a ton of ways to move people physically around the map as you'd like. I mean, unfortunately, it's not like a Blink Strike where you can like move yourself to an ally as well. Yeah. It's only something you can use on enemies, but really just nifty, really.
Yeah, it's kind of niche, It kind of like proves him something that's different from the rest of the group, so that is really cool. Yeah, and it's really good also, like I said, for initiation. It goes up to a 700 range at the max rank, so that could be the way to open something up. Use that, throw a Chaos Bolt, stun for 4 seconds hopefully, and then they're probably dead. And the other reason for that would be his Chaos Strike, his third move, which is what makes him so random, or part of the reason what makes him so random. He has a 10% chance to do a crit, and this goes from 1.5 times damage at the first rank all the way up to 3 times damage. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, that's a ton of damage potential to come out. I mean, this is part of what makes him really kind of fun to play because it's like when you're ganking, especially too, like you should have these potentials to get these really long stuns to be able to move somebody really far back that reality rift, and then just be able to crack him over the head with one of these crit strikes. It's really awesome. And then of course when we get into the ultimate, we start talking about his illusions. They get this crit as well, so he can just tear somebody down.
It's kind of funny that both him and Phantom Assassin got released in the same week because
Yeah.
she's also, we'll get to her in another one, but she's also very dependent on RNG, like on just getting random procs, because she also has her ultimate's actually based on crit chance. So it's just really funny that these kind of similar things are released in the same week. But he's actually, oh, we didn't even say he's a strength hero. So he's more of like this tanky in your by the way, in your face strength tanky hero that just does insane amounts of damage. And speaking of damage, you were talking about the crit working on the images. Well, it's called Phantasm. And what he basically does is just create illusions of himself, similar to like Manta style. When you use it, it just has the same visual effect. It actually works in the same way, except that these images do 100% full damage, and they only take 200%, which for illusions is pretty damn good, considering that most of them get insta-give like Phantom Lancers or whatnot. But you start out making one illusion at the first rank, goes 2 and then 3 at the final rank, and then we kind of said how these interact with his other moves, like you get the crit chance from Chaos Strike, with Reality Rift, they all teleport to the target with you, which is really helpful when you're trying to set things up. So overall, pretty effective ultimate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I mean, you pointed this out to me last night, which I didn't realize, is you can also remove buffs placed on you as well. So if you have something placed on you by the enemy team, just do Phantasm, and then you can get out of it really easily. So a good way to avoid some potential damage there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like for example, Ancient Apparition ult. That's a very obvious one. He likes to throw that debuff on you with his ultimate, and if it's gonna kill you, oh, don't worry about it. Pop the ulti, you're good to go. And now you got 3 images with you, and now he's 100% dead. So, yeah, overall, really interesting
And
hero.
it's really good for pushing as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he is really a hero that has a lot of potential in all of these areas that we always refer to. The ability to push, the game. He even has very potential with that crit strike, not even needing a lot of items to be able to do damage and be able to burst people down. It's not like that late game sustain damage that we like getting from the series, but he is able to be quite the wrecking force in the middle part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the other reason, I mean, like that ultimate, it lasts for 24 seconds, and I mean, that's a really long time, and especially if you're kind of building him half tanky or somewhat tanky, you know, and they only take 200% damage, I mean, it's going to take a lot to bring those illusions down, honestly. You know, they'd have to take a lot of nuking or auto attacks, and people obviously are not going to try to focus the illusions, so they're going to probably be up for the whole time doing their full damage, and that's why it just proves to be so effective. And especially if you kind of, well, we'll get to the items, but I was going to say if you kind of get some Ori items, you know, obviously similar to like Phantom Lancer, Ori, is that
Ori?
Isn't like ornery? That's the bird one. I was like, what's the one? That's what it sounds like to me, but no, I don't think he's much of a bird in this case. But well, he flies sort of. So I mean, he's got that. He's got a teleport fly. It's, you know, it's similar.
It's the reality.
It's not at all similar. I don't know why I pushed that.
It's okay. It's okay. You tried. That's what counts, right?
You gotta try to make your things you say relate. Otherwise, people realize how actual dumb you are. So,
I do really like Drums of Endurance on him. I think it's like just a huge key item to get on him, just because obviously you're getting the R, which is increasing attack speed, movement speed of you and your team, which is a fantastic item to pick up anyway, but it's giving you strength, general stats, and int, which is really nice because your moves are fairly expensive for you being a strength hero, especially the Chaos Bolt, 140 mana at all ranks, 70 at all ranks for the Reality Rift. And then, of course, the mana only ultimate goes up as you level it as well. So being able to get some more int is just fantastic. And then if you're looking to gank another lane, pop the drums, burn a charge, be able to get in there right away, be able to cast your Chaos Bolt. Then you can just sort of walk in and do some auto attack damage. Reality Rift, pull them back. You don't have to use that Reality Rift necessarily to close distance and initiate. You can use it to sort of close and ensure that they take extra damage from the other teammates in your lane.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we'll go over the items quickly, like you were kind of starting that to go. Starting items, obviously, well, we're not going to go into that. It's Tango's Health Salve. If depending on what build you're going to try to push for. Oh, I thought you went square. You're back rectangle, no problem.
I don't
know. Just hey, keep
I
your shape, please. Keep your shape. Wait, isn't it? Oh, squares are rectangles. Rectangles aren't squares. That's what the saying is. Think about it logically, geometry. Wise.
Yes.
See? I don't know. Now you've learned something today. Besides Chaos Knight, now you've realized something about squares and rectangles. Anyways, good third grade knowledge to have. Yeah,
Fantastic.
and so depending if you want to go, he is, like you said, he actually is pretty mana intensive. The fact that his things are pretty low cooldown. Reality Rift starts high, but as you level it up, it goes down 6 seconds each rank. It goes all the way down to 6 seconds, so you can start getting those cast a lot. Chaos Bolt's only 10 seconds. It's really not that bad for the laning phase. And like you said, 140. So when he starts with a, what is it, 210, 220 mana pool, he can only even get one of those off to start with. So, he's going to need something to give him that boost. Unless your ally in your lane gets a quick arcane boost, you're kind of in the rough, and you need something. And that's why, either like you said, you can maybe start pushing for getting the mana from Drums of Endurance. I personally like either going the Soul Ring really quickly, because it gives you the regen, both health and mana, as well as, you can get that, obviously, big mana instantly, enough for that Chaos Bolt right away. Or you go, the first time I played them, Arcane Boots. And I've actually seen that in competitive Dota 1, where some people would go the Arcane Boots just for their lane presence, but as well as to have that mana pool to work with. So, you got a lot of different choices, but I feel like you're going to need at least one of those options to have a really decent time in the laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, as far as boots are concerned, I think Steam boots were the big ones when I was really trying to look through, do some research this week and see what a lot of the, Dota 1 people were doing. I know, I keep playing Steam Boots.
Me and Mana Style, you and Steam Boots. You just gotta get that
P-Treads. The P-Treads.
There you go, that's easier.
Because obviously stats, attack speed, really nice. I could even see Tranquil Boots, to be honest. Just to be able to, because you're kind of just going to be up in people's faces anyway, so being able to get that extra armor regen, get a cheap item so that you can start building towards something else, and then of course if you are really interested in ganking, great for initiating, just because you're running so fast to begin with. Armlet's kind of cool. I could see that one if you're looking to go for more of a carry build, but I think Vanguard is also a really good choice. One of the few heroes where I'm like, yeah, grab Vanguard.
Armlet is super popular in this hero, and I think it's more from the more experienced players, obviously. I mean, Armlet in itself is an item where you really need to be on the ball with how to use it properly. The reason I say that is, of course, it gives you an initial strength, damage, and I believe, is it attack speed? Yes, attack. Wow, I got all right. I don't even buy this item. That's why I'm impressed with it, honestly. I never buy this item because I'm not one of these players, so maybe I need to practice it. But regardless, it gives you these bonuses. So obviously, it's more of a strength hero thing because it gives that 25 strength as well, which gives you health in addition to damage for strength heroes. But the reason you want to be so effective with it is because it does drain 37 health a second. So while it's active, you are losing a lot of health over time, and so you don't want to keep on all the time. This is really for your burst increments. But the other people who use this effectively is to, when they're low on health, they pop it right as they're about to get hit by a killing move or something. They go gain that instant health from the strength, and they survive, and then they they deactivate as they're running away. So there's a lot of give and take with it, but it can be a really, really useful item if you can use it strategically like that.
Yeah, I mean, that item alone, I feel like, is a pretty good source of damage. Like, if you are building, like, the treads, then you're also getting the drums. I mean, you can pretty much just use that item to be your biggest source of damage, and then your crits. I mean, you really don't have to build super damagey on him. You really can just build tanky, and then happen to do a ton of damage as well. Sanjin Yasha, I think, is another fantastic item for him, because you can slow people down, you're speeding yourself up. You're going to be able to chase people down, which is huge. When, like you said earlier, you have a 10-second cooldown and a 6-second cooldown. Really not all that long. You could definitely keep up a chase if you have those speed items.
Oh, the other great thing about Sage and Yasha is that, first of all, it's relatively easy to make. You can buy things in increments of 1,000 gold, 450 gold, 700 recipe. Like, you can buy these things throughout the game, not to save for this, like, 3,000 gold, Heart of Tarrasque or something. Like, nothing, like, big like that. So it's really pretty easy to accumulate the items for it. And then, his viable late game build, I mean, you don't have to build these items, but you have the chance to. You can go Heaven's Halberd and Manta style. And the beautiful thing is, you already have half of the components for each one of those if you decide to split up this item. Now you have the Yasha for the Mana Style, and you have the Sage for the Heaven's Halberd. And I mean, like, it's not like you're going to go that every game, but it's definitely a possibility on him. He'll benefit so much from both of those things. Imagine just all those illusions coming towards someone. They're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, I mean it's tremendous amount of potential he has there just to be able to completely confuse the enemy team. And when you're so tanky already, it's like not only do you have to pick the right Chaos Knight, you have to be able to get that one down. So yeah, it's fantastic.
I'm almost certain too. I mean, I don't think we know, but the Reality Rift, wouldn't that also bring those illusions with him as well?
I would think it would.
Because it doesn't
Yeah,
specify.
for sure.
I haven't actually built Manta Style on this hero yet, so I can't confirm that, but I would have to think so, and that would be just like 6 illusions teleporting on top of you. That would be...
You just like you Shadow Shaman ulti, like lock him in place.
Yeah.
Whoever it is you Reality Rift to, and then you laugh because what can they do at that
Can't
point?
get out.
It's like Shaker is like the only person who would actually be able to survive
God.
it.
Shaker would have fun with that. You have like a Chaos Knight, Mana Style, with, like Phantom Lancer with Mana Style in a team, and like Air Shaker's like, time to shine.
Yeah, just spread this ulti everywhere. It'd be great.
God, that would be painful. But yeah, another good item on him, of course, would be something like a Black King Bard if you're going up against. I mean, that's always a good item on carries in general, but it also has the strength, which is nice for him. And against any caster, he's gonna be in your face, so you're gonna need that kind of magic protection, which is really nice. Assault Carrius, another pretty no sense or pretty logical one there. Like I said, an Ori, not ornery. Don't confuse those two words. That's going to help your illusions as well as your team, and that's going to be really effective, reducing that armor, giving you armor and attack speed. It's a beautiful item all around, really.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think this hero is definitely one that we would both agree. You'd play in the lane. I remember there was a. I wish I could remember his name. I want to say it was Malk. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he was like, yeah, I think Chaos Knight's really the last hero that hasn't come into the game yet that's actually going to change the way the game's played a little bit. He thought this Chaos Knight was actually going to make the middle lane be a lot more popular as far as running 2 people there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see, what kind of impact he has. Run him and a babysitter. Like, I could see Crystal Maiden, of course, my baby. With him would be fantastic. Just the huge slow. And then, of course, another stun. Just would be awesome to be able to babysit him and then potentially be able to pick up a lot of kills. And then, like we were saying earlier, make up for some of that lacking mana pool with the regeneration.
Any hero with a stun that's like a carry, it's just so effective in the laning phase. So effective. Like, looked at... I mean, we haven't seen Skeleton King put up in a long time, but there was a period where he was, and it was just so awesome. And, like, especially if they had a tri-lane or at least a support with, like, a roamer, if he could just initiate with a guaranteed stun, like Chaos Knight has, and then you follow it up, like you said, with a really good slow or another stun or something like that. I mean, it's pretty much a free kill almost, depending on what the other team got going against them. So, I mean, it's just so helpful to have that in the laning phase. And he's, like you say, he's naturally tanky. He has 2.9 strength gain per level. So he's going to have a ton of health throughout the game. Going to be really hard to take down in general.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, is when you're talking about Skeleton King, too, I think a lot that made him really popular was just the fact that he had a range stun as a strength hero. And you brought up earlier, it's like 500 range. It's not like that huge. But you consider it's a melee hero, it's like, oh, well, that's pretty sweet. I mean, it's really nice to be able to have that kind of initiation. I think that's really what makes him a good popular pick, just how easily he can get into fights, get on top of people, and really be able to look to do a ton of damage.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's a pretty good... competitive viability. You kind of mentioned already. I mean, Malk, like you were saying, I do believe actually was not saying that. But yeah, I mean, he was used actually pretty frequently in the Dota 1 scene. And I would have no doubt that we'll see him pop up in these Dota 2 teams. It's unfortunate for this DreamHack tournament going on now during this cast, actually, that people were like, oh, we want to see him used. And the people are like almost like angry about it. They're like, why are they probably going to auto ban him from this tournament? Like, these 3 heroes should be used so we can see him in action. It's like, okay, you're gonna give them like a week to like be familiar with it, and on top of that, remember this is still beta, so bugs actually happen, believe it or not, when they release heroes. So I don't think you want buggy heroes in a huge tournament game. Doesn't sound really that smart.
Yeah, and the other thing too, it's like if you consider PA and Gyrocopter, like these are heroes like, you know, if somebody picked them, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. You know, I'm not gonna say, oh, those are terrible heroes. You shouldn't pick them competitively. But CK is one that is so popular as far as being banned and picked in Dota 1 that I could totally see team captains being like, well, we didn't get to practice him, but he's so good. We should really just try and pick him, or we should just really try and ban him. And so you're bringing him into a major tournament, a major LAN tournament,
Yeah.
and people are going to almost be forced in some situations to pick him up just because he's that viable.
Or ban them.
Yeah, and then you're dealing with a hero that you wouldn't be dealing with because you'd be banning him out potentially.
Exactly.
So I think it's unfortunate. Of course, just like everybody else, I'd like to see these heroes come into the competitive scene. Like to see them picked up, but I'm also for seeing good games that don't get thrown off by these random things that come into it. So
Yeah.
soon enough, it's coming. Don't worry, you'll see plenty of CK. He's coming. Don't worry. Well, I think we're good. Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Look at this short, concise cast we did for you. We will have another episode following this one. Maybe the third. The third one might come a little bit later, and then not next week, but the week after that, we will come back to a regularly scheduled thing, so you guys can tune in live again and watch us dependably. So, boom, there you go. We will see you on our next cast, which I imagine is going to the Phantomus. Join us there. We will see you then.